So, decent first fight, I would say. Curse and Praxis skill for a 100-man Onyx, not too bad. So, why 100-man Onyx, right? And why this crazy expensive fit? Well, before the competition, I asked myself what Hector can even remotely be able to perform like a T3C that you would normally go for. So, like Tengu or Loki Legion. With those ships, you can basically sick tank everything and fight everything except fighting Hugins or whatever. But out of those four Hectors that you're able to choose from, only really the Onyx was able to first get to decent speed and get long range damage application, right? So the Devoter and Phobos are both armor ships, which make it super hard to give them damage and speed, because you usually have you have the nano and the damage in the low, and the mids are well only for um, tackle or maybe tracking computer or whatever. So and the Devoter is also not fast enough. You can't really make an armor Devoter Hunterman fast enough to escape a Hugin or something like that. So only the Broadsword and Onyx were fast enough to get to the threshold where you can escape a Hugin punching in. Um, and the Broadsword has range problems, right? So you wouldn't go RTs in a Broadsword because your damage would be fairly low, and your own speed would fuck up your tracking as well. So the Onyx was kinda the perfect, or let's say the best choice for the job. It's shield and it's heavy missile, so you can get a decent amount of speed and all the tank you want with mids, and then also some damage. So obviously, I wanted to make it work, so I put some MISC into it. The snake pot is definitely one of the biggest investments here for the fit, but like I said, if you're experienced in knowing when the Hugin will come or actually reacting fast when the Hugin lands outside, you have eyes outside that's still considered solo in the competition. So I have my alpha account or like my fresh NPC toon outside looking for Hugins, and then I go best speed outside, and I'm fine, right? With that speed, 3400 after 24 seconds, you usually are super fine. Obviously, that Hugin with like hyperspacious or something can still get you, but that's super rare. So uh, the snack bot and the double nano gets you to the desired speed and agility. I had to go for double nano unfortunately because one nano is just a bit too slow, and yeah, the agility is also super bad. So double nano is required, and then all the damage I can get, so double BCU and the loading bay accelerator to even remotely get to a decent DPS. So with the perfect hardware wirings for heavy missiles and decent BCUs, you only get to 480 DPS, which is a bit unfortunate, but that's what we're working with. So rest of the fit is making it fit, right? So you have one T1 ancillary, and you have to fit a hit point, launchers, 100 men, and a cap, right? So as you can see, I didn't really have enough power grid left over to fit a battery to make it cap stable, so you had to go for a compact cap booster. And on top of that, you also had to buy a pretty expensive AB because, again, power grid is really limiting here. So the one available on market at that time was one with 182 speed, which is decent, and the power grid is the most important one. Was a bit red on activation cost and CPU, so I think that one was around 1.8 bill, I would say. I'm not too sure about it. Usually those values get you to like 2 bil. If the velocity increases too much and you are below 600 power grid, you get exponentially raised prices. But yeah, it didn't need the most crazy LB here, not the high-end LB at least. So just the low end on the high tier ones. So yeah, definitely a super expensive AB for something like an Onyx. Shield booster, kinda the same. A bit green on activation time to get some more EHP per second. Should be around 600 to 800 million. I forgot how much it was. So yeah. Faction lancers again for power grid, and the rest is just tank. You could argue that you can fit a missile guidance computer here instead of the second multi-spec. Tank was kind of fine in all the fights I got, so you could argue for a better application here on them with a missile computer, because yeah, 135 and 100 velocity, 100 radius and 135 velocity is not the best. You definitely have problems against AB cruisers, especially 100 man cruisers. You just can't kill them because you don't really have any application webs or whatever. So yeah, that was kind of the idea of the fit. Make it look like a Tengu basically. I think the Tengu is the best thing that you compare it to when you look at it. DPS is definitely the thing that's worse. Tank is a bit better, but speed is also speed and agility. Actually, agility is fine, I think, similar to the Tengu, and but yeah, speed is worse, and obviously you don't get the overheat bonus like the Tengu. But that wasn't the task to make basically an Onyx Tengu. But yeah, it worked in the first fight. So let's go into the second fight and see how it performs. Alright, horrible second fight. I was not able to do anything of meaning, or I couldn't even kill the Brutix in a reasonable amount of speed. And yeah, the Legion and Loki were just untouchable for me. I don't think the missile guidance computer would have helped. Legion had an reactive as well, and Loki had too much speed basically to just apply to it. To be fair, like a Tengu would have had the same problems, application problems. Like Loki maybe could have cracked one of those cruisers with the web. So could have had the Legion with good tracking on multi and just breaking active tank, especially on the Loki probably. Like the enemy Loki. But yeah, the Onyx hit failed, right? And it was a pretty long fight. I had it speed up to like 200% already. And I was very frustrated, obviously. After the fight, I wasn't really willing to give it another try because I already yeeted for like 2 or 3 hours that day. So yeah, I stopped doing it. And after a couple of days, I thought, let's try a different Hector that can perform a bit better. So the idea is kinda complicated what I had. The second option that's fast is Broadsword, obviously, but it has range problems. So what did I think of? I thought of basically range controlling like battleships, marauders, Hugins coming in with the base speed of the broadsword and just running away. And if a reasonable amount of enemies come in, you can decide to go back in and use your hail damage. Right? That was the idea. Not killing enemies at like 40, 50 or whatever, or even 80 like the Onyx, but to basically run away from the enemy if it's too much and picking a point of time where you go all in. Basically, you commit to web range, to scram range. Well, scram doesn't matter, but you commit to the enemy web range because you want to web the enemy as well, and just apply your hail DPS. So I ended up with a 220 broadsword with 100 MN and mid crystal pot. Why crystal pot? Because the snakes weren't really needed in this case. You are definitely slower than the Onyx here, and you definitely would have more problems running away from a Hugin punching in. But I was willing to take that risk, right? I just wanted to enhance my brawling capability. So mid grade crystal or like one high grade mid grade crystal pot to improve the tank. Tank is so without crystal it was 700, spending 800 mil on the pot. Well, you also get damage. You get like 250 cold EHP per second. That's kind of getting you to a threshold where you tank most DPS cruisers. Most cruisers only really can do 1k DPS. Maybe an Ikiterza can do more after spooling. But like something like a Blaster Demos, which is really high DPS, doesn't really go beyond 1k. By the way, I disassembled the Onyx, right? I ripped off the 100 men and the booster and put it on the broadsword. So I didn't have to find new mods or anything. Even the multi-specs I used from the Onyx. So Onyx is repackaged, right? Shit ship. Too boring for me to fly. So I just bought the gyrosaps, just some 100 million, I think. Maybe, yeah, I mean, T2 rolls like 50 to 100 million, I think. And then, yeah, just a normal web, booster. the 1 nano, and what you wanna see here is the 1k DPS from the turrets. So you all in an enemy, you web it, and you have 1k DPS to play with, right? So if you remember the Loki and Legion, I think the Loki would have died for sure. Not too sure about the Legion because he was super tanky with interactive. But you could have tanked them both, no problem. And you could have killed like a T3C enemy. And that's kind of what you wanna achieve with the Switz. Like kill an unsuspecting T3C that's usually feeling somewhat cocky and untouchable, but then you somehow achieve getting into web range, which is doable, I think. And then you have range control, and then you apply some Hail DPS. Alright, let's see how the fit performed, and let's look at some fights.